thanks for avoiding the Vancouver Canucks for one night at least. The forum is sponsored by the Times Colonist, CBC Radio, and Czech News. My name is Dave Obi. I'm the editorial page editor at the Times Colonist, and I will be the moderator tonight.
Elizabeth, my concern is I'm the executive director of a nonprofit society. Our goal is to support brand new parents on the first 3 months of life. We go according to the Canadian Pediatric Society and the provincial medical guidelines. I don't know what your policies are in regards to young families and supporting them in that way.
You'll find that one of the ways in which we gauge the effectiveness of all policies is it in the interests of children? It's a primary lens through which we look at our programs. In this platform, we have a significant commitment to early childhood education, to support for families. We believe in income splitting immediately, not when we bring down the deficit and it's all gone. That gives a lot of Canadian families more flexibility. We want universal child care, but that first 3 months of life, it's critical that families have help. It's critical that parents have good parental leave. It's critical that there be prenatal nutrition, assistance to families, and support for the most important job any of us are ever going to have, which is bringing up healthy children. And it's in our platform. You can find it online with lots of details. Thank you.
Why does the Government of Canada, regardless of the parties in charge, borrow money from private banks at compounding interest instead of borrowing from the Bank of Canada at little or no interest?
I wish I didn't have a time limit so I could find out how old you are, what grade you're in, and who your teachers are, because they're brilliant. The reason is that we fell out of the habit of using the Bank of Canada Act in the way we could that would allow Canadians to borrow money from our own bank without interest. We currently are paying in this country $93 million a day in interest payments to commercial banks. The Green Party believes we should be more creative and go back to the Bank of Canada Act and find ways to have monetary policy to reduce the amount that we're borrowing from commercial banks. We would not eliminate all the debt to commercial banks because Bay Street would have a significant impact from that could affect our economy. But we need to be creative going forward and not borrow money if we can avoid it, pay down the debt, pay down the deficit, and if we ever get ourselves in this bind again, choose to go to the Bank of Canada more often and less often to commercial banks.
Hi, I'm Georgia Collins. I have a question for Elizabeth May. Stephen Harper seems to think that he's the only one that can be trusted with the economy. I'd like to hear your comments on that and what the Green Party has planned for that.
Thank you, Georgia. Well, you know, people have a hard time pinning us down on the political spectrum because we're fiscally responsible, socially progressive, and environmentally sustainable. And I've been baffled for a while as to why Mr. Harper has held on to a reputation as a good manager of the economy. He destroyed the surplus that had been there when he formed government initially, so that by September 2008, before the collapse of the New York stock markets through the derivatives and the gambling and the subprime mortgages, we no longer had a surplus. We were actually in deficit already. When I was in the leaders' debate in 2008, I was the only leader at the table saying we were in a recession. Mr. Harper was still saying if we were going to be in a recession, we'd be in one already. And he's denying the evidence of the parliamentary budget officer, who said very clearly we're in a structural deficit. And the current government plans, particularly by continuing to have deeper corporate tax cuts, will not get us out of a structural deficit. So you add that up and we look at the growing productivity gap between Canada and the United States, the economic management skills of the current government are somewhat suspect.
Do you support changing our election system to some sort of proportional representation?
We believe that we need to actually look at some elements of democracy in Canada. The voting system, first past the post, is really one of the most fundamental things to change in order to also change the kind of politics we get. The longer I'm in politics, the more I realize that what Keith Martin described as rabid partisanship finds its source in the perverse results from first past the post. We need to make sure every vote counts, and that is going to come about through proportional representation. There are other things we need to look at. We've mentioned earlier tonight the expanding power of the Prime Minister's office, regardless of what person is in that office. We need to constrain that. We need to bring back up the role of what we really elect in this country, 308 MPs who are there to work for you. But proportional representation is something I will fight for very hard.
Mr. Lunn, can you tell me why early in the mandate the Harper government dismantled the Commission on the Status of Women and the Law Reform Commission?
Well, that's absolutely. I'm not sure if that's accurate. So I'm not sure what you're referring to specifically. I can tell you that we have a minister of the Minister of State of the Status of Women, the Honourable Rona Ambrose. She does an excellent job. So again, I'm not sure specifically, but I'm not aware what you're referring to at all. Thank you.
Okay, go for it, Elizabeth.
I know what you're talking about. The law The Law Reform Commission was killed. It no longer exists. We're the only country in the OECD now without a Law Reform Commission. And with that went the Court Challenges Program, which was a way in which disadvantaged groups, including women's groups, First Nations groups, disabled groups, could use the Charter of Rights and Freedoms all the way to the Supreme Court of Canada to establish how the rights would work. The Office of the Status of Women Canada still exists, but it's a hollow shell of its former self. The offices of Status of Women Canada have been closed across Canada, and within the mandate of Status of Women Canada, the goal of equality for women has been removed. So we need to get back to respecting women's rights. We need to have a law reform commission. We need to ensure that the Charter of Rights and Freedoms protects us all.
So my question is for Gary Lunn. I'm deeply concerned by the gag order and repeated muzzling that the Conservative government has placed on federally funded research and science. And I'm wondering if you share this concern and what you can do to change that. I know so many colleagues who are in different government departments. The morale among federal civil servants has never been lower because they're simply not allowed to talk.
Thank you.
Well, I just respectfully would disagree with that. I was the Minister of Natural Resources, which has the largest amount of scientists in that department. I used to visit them regularly, and I had fantastic discussions, and it was very open. In fact, I have the highest respect. I remember one of my greatest moments in Parliament was going up with a science expedition on the polar ice cap and sitting down with their scientists. So I have nothing but the greatest respect for our scientists, and I just believe your assertion is completely false. Thank you.
The gag order for federal scientists is not a rumor, it's a fact. When John Baird was Minister of Environment, the word went out to Environment Canada scientists that they were not allowed to speak to the media without permission from the Minister's office or the Prime Minister's office. And I remember, because I have many friends who are working in Environment Canada, one group in the Weather Service in Toronto saw a blizzard coming and literally wondered, are we allowed to warn Torontonians that a blizzard is coming, or do we have to check with the Minister's office? There's a climate of fear. There's a real concern that if you actually were to answer even a simple, non-controversial question, it could cost you your job. Science has been disrespected, cut back, and scientists have been muzzled by this government. It's not healthy. Advice to government needs to be free and open, and sharing that information with the public is part of the essence of democracy. We have to have science respected, and scientists have to be free to speak.
Hi, my question is for Elizabeth May. Elizabeth, if you win this riding in the next election and you become my MP, how will you balance your responsibilities as the leader of a national party with your responsibilities to this riding?
Tonight, I stand before you as a job applicant. If I should be honored with your votes and I should become your member of Parliament, my primary obligation is to the people who've just hired me. I'll be tireless in working for the interests of Saanich Gulf Island residents. I'll have the most effective constituency office you've ever seen to resolve problems that you're having with whatever level of bureaucracy. And my balance is that you will have done me the honor of allowing me to be your voice on Parliament Hill. Yes, I have obligations as a federal party leader to speak on other issues, but this community cares deeply about global issues. This community cares deeply about national issues, and I hope that when I speak on those issues as well, you'll be proud of the representation that you're getting, because you'll be seeing a different kind of politic, more respectful, more positive, and one committed to the future in a way that the cynicism of partisan politics is currently not delivering. Thank you.